Today's move is a fun one. It's called a martini pour on the head, and it looks just like this. All right, there we have it. That is the martini pour on the head. So we call it the martini pour on the head for obvious reasons. However, when we're practicing, I'm actually going to go ahead and use a smaller glass, a rocks glass or a tumbler. You can do this really with any glass that'll balance on your head. When we're practicing, the reason I use this one instead is that it has a much wider base and is less likely to spill. I really like to do this when I'm working with martinis because I think it's a little more impressive, it's a little more difficult, and it's also something that I don't have to add a mixer to afterwards. I know it's just the whole thing is going right in there. However, for practice sake, just to make this easier, we're going to start off with a lowball glass. It's really, I'm not going to make it any more difficult than it really is. It helps to spread your legs apart, get kind of a base. Make sure you're not standing like this where it's a little easier to wobble and fall over. The other thing is if you move your eyebrows up, if you look like you're shocked and you have your head, basically make wrinkles in your forehead, you'll find that with some glasses, it makes it a little easier to hold. With something like this, it's really pretty stable. It's not as much of a worry. So the balancing part should be pretty simple. Really then the only trick is making sure that you are set up with your right tools. Normally when we are going to make a drink, make a martini or a cocktail, we'll pour it into the tin, add the ice, and then we'll either add a pint glass to the top to shake it off or a strainer. For this we want to have a 16 or an 18 ounce tin, either the 16 or 18 ounce. Normally these are great for, we put them on and we shake the drink like this. Instead we're going to take and we're going to flip it upside down. So let's get our drink in here. We flipped it upside down, and then really it's just a matter of holding your finger right on top to make sure that this doesn't spill, and to make sure that the no ice cubes or anything else comes out. So once we've got that all together, place it on the forehead. We're going to go ahead and pour. This is a little tricky when you're first starting out to make sure that it actually hits the glass and that it doesn't go all over your face. One way to help that is to make sure that this part is wide open. If your finger's on the opposite end, everything should pour right out here. So that way we know it's not pouring out the side. And then for something fun to do if we want, we can go ahead and get a mouthful of drink like that, which is a little goofy. Make sure you can do that at work if you're allowed to drink or anything, but I think it's kind of fun. As you're pouring someone's drink, I'll sometimes pour a little extra so I can do it in my mouth. The only other pointer that I have to this is, one thing that I think is fun is to go ahead, get the whole drink in there, and once we are ready to serve it, instead of just taking it off, I will actually turn, or I'll even start this way with my back towards them, and I will lean back and invite the person to go ahead and grab it off the top of my head. Anytime you can invite your guests to actually be a part of any of the Flair bartending that you're doing, it makes it feel more like a one-person show and more like you're involving them. They're much more likely to have more fun. They're much likely to tip better. So give that a shot. If you can balance a martini glass on your head and you can lean all the way back and pass it off to them, they will really get a kick out of it. Keep that in mind though, if you're doing that with a martini, I generally, when I do that, won't fill the martini glass all the way up. I will keep probably half of it in here. They get the point, they get a part of it, they have a lot of fun, but once they grab it and set it down, then I will come and actually top off the rest of the martini. Otherwise, you fill it all the way up, you or they are much more likely to spill, and there's nothing that's gonna throw your game off more than bending over halfway backwards, everyone looking at your bald spot, and pouring a martini in your glass. They go to grab it and spill half of it on your face. So practice this with this one. It's not incredibly difficult, but a couple things to keep in mind. So there you go, the martini pour on the head. Good luck, and as always, practice, practice.